It is my immense pleasure to now call upon our chief guest, Dr. T. Jacob John, to address the gathering.
Dr. Jachin Velavan, Dr. Judy Ann, Dorothy Dore Kirubai, Reverend Deepak, and my namesake, Dr. Jebu Jacob John. My congratulations to all award and prize winners of this Research Day presentations by the hundreds, as I heard. I was unable to visit the stalls to see the posters or listen to some of the presentations. Research is a venture seeking answers, answer-seeking endeavor. So therefore, asking questions is critical. And asking questions comes from your own brain, mind, and therefore that's the most important, critical, valuable equipment for research. It doesn't cost any money to use that equipment. In fact, clinicians, healthcare workers, doctors, nurses, and all that, when we sort out the right diagnosis in a patient, we have been asking questions and we now generate new knowledge. Systemic lupus erythematosus, whatever. But that's not generalizable. So the new information of research is generalizable information. So clinicians are always asking questions. But every clinician does not do research. It's not because questions are not asked. Now, research can be looked at from various angles. From bottom up, problem solving is research, model making, replicable models, research, hypothesis validation is research, and you can do research in all the disciplines of modern medicine. In CMC, research is important for another reason also. In addition to the intrinsic value of research, in CMC, we also have a utilitarian value. We are a not-for-profit institution serving the needy, and income through research grants enable us to provide quality healthcare at a low and subsidized cost. A friend of mine in pediatrics has a research project on maternal micronutrients plus, that is, new micronutrients. She has brought in Beena Koshi, brought in about 5 crores of rupees for that research. So we have to pack research into our work schedule. We have so many other things to do. Clinical people see patients all the time. So time is money. Research funds support staff and equipment. Innovation is also money, according to the 3 Nobel Prize winners this year. Having said that, I have a story to tell you, never shared with anybody else until now. So please understand it in the true spirit of it and never try it again. In 1966, I was convinced when I came back from pediatric infectious disease training that pediatric infectious disease cannot be quality unless you have diagnostic virology. But I was wise enough to not to ask the admin, shall I open a virology lab? They would have said no, and I would be stuck. So what did I do? I quietly did it. But I took full financial responsibility for the diagnostic virology unit until 1978. I'll come to that. And research was the channel. Research brought in huge funds, both Indian and overseas. Even my own salary came from outside, except for 76 to 77, 77 to 78, 78 to 79. Those 3 years only CMC had to budget or pay from CMC's own resources. For 2 decades, all virology tests were given free until institutional decision was that no test should be like that free, so you should have to fix rates for them. CMC admin repeatedly wanted virology closed, fearing that after my retirement, it would be a white elephant. It is because of that I'm wearing a tie full of white elephants. White elephant is an elephant, no temple wants to hire it, no procession wants to hire it, but we have to keep feeding the elephant. White elephant. In 1978, ICMR recognized virology as center of excellence. Thereafter, I had no problem of these small pinpricks coming from admin. 1979, ICMR established or asked us to establish the ICMR Center of Advanced Research in Virology, which lasted with huge amount of funding until the day I retired. And then they supported me for 5 more years as emeritus. A good principle in life is if you do the right things with right intentions, God always blesses. This was a press asked various questions to Jemima Rodriguez yesterday in Navi Mumbai after the cricket match, India versus Australia. You know about that whole thing. So her answer was this. She had gone through a lot of anxiety and mental problems and all that, but she was the heroine of yesterday. For whom does CMC strive for excellence in education, service and research? Of course our own state, of course our own country. But the low-income countries of the world, call them the South, developing countries. We have a duty for solidarity with the South because we exist in the South and we represent the South. And if you remember the deliberations of the next 10 years, 10 years of CMC's journey, how can we impact countries in Africa was a question that was asked. Imagine a virtual institute of tropical medicine. We have it here. Clinical infectious disease units in medicine and pediatrics, a unique franchise model of immunization clinic, microbiology, virology, pathology, biochemistry, pharmacology, Wellcome laboratories, all of high standard, international standard, epidemiology, biostatistics department, community health department, the School of Public Health. We have also great legacies that we can be proud of. Just picking 5 out of hundreds I could have picked. Leprosy rehabilitation and hand surgery. Globally, CMC was the leader. WHO took CMC research recommendation in 1972 to make 1974 9 months for measles vaccination in the EPI countries. Arsenic therapy for lymphoma, gene therapy to cure thalassemia major. So right from the beginning to yesterday, these 5 represent our legacies. We have many, many, many more if you look around. Let me shift gear. Think of 2 boxes in the mind. One for cognitive knowledge. I know there is evidence, like science. The other for belief, probably in the subconscious mind. I believe, therefore I know. That's religion. Now, in religion, there are dogmas that we have to accept as belief, whereas in science, there are no dogmas. They're all questionable. They are all for the time being. Indian schooling system encourages putting all knowledge into belief box, discourages scrutiny and questioning. What shall we question? Questioning belief is very uncomfortable. It causes what is known as cognitive dissonance. For those of you who do not know this term, please look it up in Google search or somewhere, AI. Therefore, never put knowledge into the belief box. But earlier information, questioning knowledge is much easier because you don't have any problem questioning knowledge. We do that all the time. But earlier information put into the box of knowledge interferes with new knowledge. And that is called proactive interference or proactive inhibition. Note that also and look it up. Be aware of these two inhibitors of inquisitiveness, which is essential for research. Now, bedside clinicians and bedside laboratorians must converse between the two all the time. Now, I was both a clinician and a laboratorian, so I understood both sides well. Both sides accepted me very well. But then that model is not very replicable. When DM virology was being approved by MCI, they did not allow clinical degrees as sufficient for entry into that. How backward that thinking was, but we couldn't do anything. That is what that was reality. Laboratorians won't come to clinicians. They are shy people. Clinicians are always welcome in laboratories to discuss questions and research. Partner with laboratorians from the beginning. Quite often, you may notice that they know more on your subject than you know. Remember Mary Matthew and scrub typhus? Typical example. In research publications, always share credit. And I have a suspicion that Ida Scudder chose the motto not to be ministered unto, but to minister, thinking of the doctors of the United States and the arrogance of medical people. They are next to God, their noble profession, etc., etc. The emperor of infectious maladies in India is tuberculosis. Jacob John mentioned about tuberculosis. To control tuberculosis, we have been taught that diagnose every case of pulmonary tuberculosis, that's the one that sheds bacteria out, and treat. As you say, I understand that, because pulmonary TB is the infectious form, and if you catch them early and treat them early, you can control TB. The moment you say, I understand, you're putting it into the belief box. The same for early diagnosis. You need sputum test all adults with 2 weeks of productive cough and fever. Yes, I understand. That's, early symptoms of pulmonary TB is cough, and it should be because lung and caseation and things come out. And again, if you think you understand, you have put it into your belief box. Both are absolutely wrong. Take it from me. The recent nationwide survey of pulmonary tuberculosis, microbiologically confirmed primary tuberculosis. I don't know whether you can see this slide very well. This is Delhi, National Capital Region, 534 per lakh population. This is Kerala, is about 100 and what? 115 per lakh population. look at the spread, the wide range of, this is point prevalence. One time when they looked, this is what they found, microbiologically confirmed pulmonary tuberculosis. We have been taught that's an airborne infection. Therefore, it should be equally prevalent in all districts of the country. That was the WHO teaching. So everybody assumed that the prevalence is very uniformly distributed. So you have this picture. This is what you observe. How do you interpret it? What does it mean? Does it mean something that we should be knowing about for controlling TB? This new information is with us. In 2/3/24, I presented this in Quality Circle, requesting the infectious disease people and the TB people to get together and form a CMC consortium for interpreting this and taking us forward in TB control. Why are we not leading in TB control? TB is an impoverishing disease, and poor people have more TB than rich people. So poverty and TB are mutually enhancing forces, and we must break this vicious cycle. We must control TB. For that, we must understand TB. Anyway, those of you who are familiar with the Indian Journal of Tuberculosis, the next issue will have CMC's interpretation, biostatistics, and me and my physics grandson student. Now, again switching gear, polio is my personal interest in global control, local control and global eradication. We were taught by WHO that polio transmission is fecal oral. Therefore, creating intestinal mucosal immunity, thank you. Can you open it? Thank you. Intestinal immunity is essential for controlling TB. Absolutely wrong. OPV is the vaccine of choice for global polio eradication. Absolutely wrong. How did these get into the belief boxes of the minds of hundreds of thousands of people, medical? Because WHO said so. Now, there is a principle that Ronald Reagan taught everybody: trust but verify. Okay. Now, WHO, we cannot live without WHO. But when WHO is wrong, we, the Virtual Institute of Tropical Medicine, must stand up and say, you are wrong. So beware of the teachings of Pharisees and WHO. WHO misled us on two of this. Now look at the age distribution of diseases. There is no controversy that hepatitis A virus is transmitted fecal oral, picornavirus. What is the age range? 12 months to 40 years. So fecal oral, it doesn't happen very quickly. It takes time, chance, depending upon water supply problems, etc., etc. Okay? So it is spread out. There is no controversy that measles is transmitted via respiratory route. Everybody accepts it. There is no controversy. Age range 6 months to 10 years. And it's saturating people by 10 years. Okay? Now let's look at TB. We have data from Vellore, but we are taking the latest from Uttar Pradesh. These are the bars are 6 months. 0 to 5, 6 to 11. 12 to 17, 18 to 24. So each bar is 6 months of age. All right? Look at it. Can that be fecal oral? There is no up and down. It is just smooth. Convert that into cumulative age profile. Saturation by 5 years, 0 to 5, common sense tells you it cannot be fecal oral. Age distribution is incompatible with fecal oral. So from that we have figured out what is odd about TB is that TB immunity does not protect against infection. It protects only against disease. Measles immunization, rubella immunization, varicella immunization, mumps immunization, diphtheria immunization, pertussis immunization protects against disease as well as infection. So the line of transmission is very visible with those diseases. With polio, it's not visible. You know why? Because for every child who gets polio, there have been 50 people in the community, in this vicinity, adults included, were reinfected with polio virus. And reinfection is transmission competent. Now, this is a slide that will make you feel so upset. This is the current polio scenario in the world. This is wild poliovirus, the black. Still in the world, in 2 countries, essentially, Pakistan and Afghanistan. The blue line is man-made polio. Who? WHO. Vaccine-induced polio. This is the reality of today. And this, the red, sorry. This red line is one particular variety of the vaccine polio. Vaccine is unstable genetically, and the circulating vaccine-derived poliovirus or the variant poliovirus is the red. And that actually is the reason why those big M-shaped mountains are there. Now the original goal was to get rid of polio by 2000 so that the 20th century will present a smallpox and polio-free world to the 21st century. That was the promise made in 1988 by the World Health Assembly and World Health Organization. I can also show you that there was a sudden drop of wild polio during the 2005, 6, 7, 8. That is the contribution of CMC research. Until then, they were not using our research, WHO, for application in the field. What did we show? In 1976, Bulletin WHO had published a paper showing that if you give trivalent oral polio vaccine, the response rate is quite low for type 1 and type 3. But if you give trivalent oral polio vaccine versus monovalent OPV, the seroconversion rate or the response rate is 2.5 times higher. In 2005, 2006, India began using monovalent vaccine. And thereafter, African countries. That monovalent vaccine, type 1 and type 3, and later on, bivalent vaccine, type 1 and 3 without type 2, is what made this difference. We knew it from 1970s, but its application came much late. This is the reality, okay? Now look at, this is actually, African countries are very badly affected with these problems. Now, 2021, 22, 23, 24, wild polio numbers and countries too, 32, 12, 2, 98, 2. Circulating vaccine-derived poliovirus type 1, okay, 17, 2, 192, 5. 134.3, 11.2. Circulating vaccination type poliovirus type 2, 671 in 22 countries, 688 in 20 countries, 195 in 2 countries, 364 in 15 countries. Type 3 is a rare bird for this problem. So, WHO's polio eradication project is like Titanic moving towards a rock. Missed target to reach zero by 2000, and in 2025, because of the disturbances in the political WHO, United States is withdrawing from WHO, funds are not very easy to come by, and the WHO uses $1 billion per year for the last 25 years. Okay, so they are moving towards failure. We almost can predict that GPI, the polio program, will have to close down for want of funds. So my efforts continue for a paradigm shift, because the dogma, as I told you, was wrong. Already proved, I have already proved the transmission respiratory. It's published, very widely published. A lot of people are now accepting it. 7 or 8 publications are there on that. Already written about OPV, the wrong vaccine. Many papers are coming out. Lancet Microbe is coming with a paper. We have submitted another one to NEJM. So that's also getting more publicity than in the past. So when a threshold number of experts accept these facts, paradigm will shift. Are you familiar with the name Thomas Kuhn? Thomas Kuhn wrote a book on the philosophy of science. How do scientific norms change? How did the belief in sun goes around the earth change to earth going around the sun? So that's called paradigm shift. We are waiting for that paradigm shift, which I hope will ensure that polio will be eradicated by 2030 with all those problems there. Thank you all very much.